I was just making a nice little grocery getter for my wife so she could drive it around, you know, small block Chevy in there, overdrive trans, nothing big, just something cool and nice looking. My buddy Jeff Schwartz from Schwartz Performance, we got in contact and he said, hey, why don't we do a chassis underneath that car? And that opened up a whole new can of worms, because now that I got a chassis, now I got to build something badass. My wife wanted a Nova, and a buddy that I used to work for here at MotorTrend had this car, had some of the sheet metal already, and basically it was in really bad shape. And when I say bad shape, I didn't want to touch it. It needed every body panel that existed, including a roof. I was proposed with a pretty good deal. Golden Star gave me every piece of that car. So I jumped on it. I brought it down to my buddies in Arizona, Super System Restoration, and we had a plan to get there Monday morning and get the thing done by Friday evening. We went into Saturday, but by the time I left there Saturday, the whole car was in primer, had some rough body work done to it, but it was a straight, solid car, rust-free. The car itself, the body was completely done before the chassis got to me. I built it on the old platform as the chassis was being built, but I knew we were pushing the motor back in the firewall a bit, so I cut the firewall out, recessed the firewall back about 3 inches, just so we could set that engine back, just to get a little bit more weight to the rear wheels, kind of balance the car out a little better. So from there, we did it all. Got the chassis under there, went to Mosier and got a 9-inch rear end with a full floating bare brake system. So we got 14-inch brakes on the car. For a transmission, we got a 6-speed Magnum. And then of course we need the heart of the car, and that's the engine. We went to Chevrolet Performance and we got their LSX B8 block. This is a long block intended for a blower. It's got 9-to-1 compression. And I had a lot of intentions wanting to do a ProCharger on this one, and that's what we did. So, you know, we grouped together with a bunch of people like Comp and Holly, Church Boys, ARP, and we put this engine together. And obviously we needed a nice clutch for it, so we went to McLeod, got a dual disc clutch for it. And the car ended up making about 889 horsepower on engine. But we were running into a problem. I finally got the car off the engine dyno and into the car. Got the car up and running. Still wasn't painted or anything, but it's up and running. It's at the chassis dyno, and we're tuning it, and we're going, you know what? We're having issues cooling the air temps going into the motor. Well, this car has no room for intercoolers, and I mean no room. So what I ended up doing is going back to Holly, and we got a 2-stage water mesh system that runs through the Dominator computer. And what that does is, as the computer senses boost from the map sensor, it will bring on percentages of water meth through 1 or 2 solenoids of the Holly system. Basically what water meth is, it's an alcohol. It's a windshield wiper fluid. It's 30% alcohol. So as it sprays the mist through the air intake, we brought air temps down from 160 degrees to about 95 degrees. And we could even spray a little bit more and get them a little bit lower, but I think we found the most horsepower gain and the coolest spots at about that area. But one of the biggest challenges I had, I built the engine out of the car with the supercharger on it. I had to make a bunch of brackets to integrate the supercharger with the Eddie Motorsport Serpentine kit, just because it was a cleaner look with those two. So I had everything all built up, it looked really good, but the day I put the engine in the car, the supercharger sat forward a lot more than I thought it would. And that's because we turned the supercharger around where the belt would normally face forward of the car. I switched that around to kind of balance things out. Now the supercharger is sitting in front of where the belt normally would be. Well, that ran into my radiator. So I got a little nervous. I called a buddy up at US Radiator, Don, and him and his daughter knocked out a radiator. And what it is, it's 2 radiators, 1 top tank, and then it's a bottom tank that offsets the area where the air intake is for the supercharger, where you got to put your air cleaner. And then they tied both radiators into one. And I'll tell you what, the thing is bigger than any radiator I've ever had because of the core size. But they saved me one from doing a lot more fabrication and trying to figure this out. But on the other hand of that, I mean, the thing couldn't work any better. 2 big fans on it, it works great.